Welcome, Jim.
Thanks.
It's so nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us at ISHI 34. This is our annual video series that we do every year to talk to both our presenters and attendees and learn more about them. And we're very honored that you're here with us and willing to take some time. Before we jump into some of our questions, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background for any viewers who don't know you.
Okay, actually, I got a chemistry PhD. And afterwards, I went to Germany, Munich, for a postdoc. And the group there was working on fluorescence. They wanted to measure, using biophysical approaches, all the various steps in protein synthesis. And that meant we had to label transfer RNA and develop very, very pure active proteins and ribosomes. And at the end, I was there 14 years, and I developed a lot of fluorescence experience and working with RNA. Then I went to UC Santa Cruz, worked for Harry Noller to learn to sequence the RNA, and I taught them what I knew in Munich. And at the time, I was applying for jobs, and one came up by ABI, Applied Biosystems. They wanted somebody with fluorescent experience to start their diagnostics and forensic programs.
Okay.
And I got the job right away. I was very lucky. That's luck, that job was available at the time, and I had the experience to go with it. It just happened. It was lucky.
Luck and skill, I'd say.
Yeah. And so the first thing I worked on in forensics at ABI was VNTRs, variable number tandem repeats. And then after a couple of years, I switched to STRs. Then I went all over the world with the STRs, and then we built TACMAN, and we built the 310. I was working with those teams, so that was a lot of fun. We built the instrumentation to go with it, and then we built software to develop oligos. I was on that team too. And then I was at a training with Bruce Badoli in Australia, and we worked at night because there was a lot of work to do, and so we had pizza, and he told me, and I have a job at the FBI, why don't you apply for it? And he told me what it was. Bruce has a global vision of forensics, and one thing that we lacked at the FBI at the time was a way to measure the growth of bacteria. And we had a new requirement from a new unit, the Hazardous Materials Response Unit, to measure, for example, what is in that suspicious white powder. Well, in the old days, you would have to culture it out, and it would take days maybe to get an answer. Okay. Bruce said, nope, we have to work much faster. The police, the mayor, the first responders, the people that are sequestered in the building, they want to know what it is so they can go home, we can get moving. Forget it. Do they need a vaccination or not? There's a question that had to be answered quickly. And so I developed rapid assays for pathogens, working at the Navy because we couldn't do it on the Marine base. They're a great team in Silver Spring. And we developed things that the CDC didn't have. And then later we gave it to the CDC, and we worked with the English supporting down. It was a really good experience. So we had then the capabilities of measuring the bacteria within a few hours and trying to find out what it was.
That's remarkable. Wow.
That's how I started my first job and how I got there.
Incredible start to a very long and distinguished career. How long have you been at the FBI?
I started in 96, July 96. And I've been there ever since. I'll be retiring end of September. So.
Wow! Oh, that's amazing. What an incredible career. I want to get into more detail about the experiences you had, but I also heard that you were at the first ISHI that was held in Madison, Wisconsin, with some pretty extreme winter weather in December, for the first conference when DNA was nascent technology.
I was actually at the second, number 2,
Oh,
But
Arizona.
there was, no, number two is in Madison.
It was.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And we did have a lot of snow, an unbelievable amount of snow. And so that wasn't a good time to have the ISHI meeting, because who would want to go to Madison in a cold like that? And then I went to the meetings in Scottsdale and really enjoyed those. And then it branched out, because it got bigger and bigger, and Scottsdale was too small to handle the crowd. So, yeah, I've been going to issues since then, I guess,
Pretty remarkable. We're coming up on 35 years next year. It's just hard to imagine.
I'm looking forward. As a retiree, I think I'll go to that one.
Please do. We would love to have you go to that.
It's a great venue down there in San Antonio. That hotel, fantastic, beautiful. So that should be an experience for everybody going there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Since you have a lot of experience with the symposium, what has that been like over the years? I mean, you've seen so many changes, I'm sure.
Well, we started out, like you said, in Madison, a very small group, specialists. There weren't any students at the time, no younger people there. Most of the people that had experience in the laboratory setting up, for example, VNTRs. Mm-hmm. And D1S80 was a big thing at the time, and everyone was developing a database for that. So I worked with Dr. Kasai from Japan, and we made a little database. And then I was lucky enough to go to Japan and train him how to do the automation for the STRs. The VNTRs at the time.
That's incredible. You've had a lot of really exciting travels as you've worked on different projects.
Yeah, I've been lucky also in that area, because I traveled all over the world with ABI, and I lectured STRs like a rock star. I would go from one city to another. After the lecture, they'd put me on a plane, I'd go to the next city. And, it's just, there was so much interest in it. And then in Singapore, they wanted to know all they could learn about DNA technology, and so I lectured there a lot. And it was great that people would be sitting on the stairs. In Portugal, the same thing. It would be people sitting on the stairs. They would be full, because there's this knowledge for DNA, human ID and all that, what you can do with the DNA technology.
Given all of that experience, what changes in forensic science and the technology around it have most surprised you?
What surprised me is how this DNA human ID is being used now. In the beginning, it was just to solve crimes. But now we're using it for social, cultural things like, University of North Texas, they have that human trafficking program. I'd never thought of wow, that's a great idea. That's another thing that Bruce came up with. But rapid DNA. My unit chief got $23 million from Congress to develop new technology for forensics. What do you need? We need rapid DNA. And so I was on a group with our team at the research unit, and we briefed the people in headquarters about rapid DNA. Oh, we don't want that. We just validated the 310. Don't stop talking. Something new? We don't want to hear anything about it.
No, don't make us do this.
So we farmed it out to a number of contractors. ASU was one of them. Another was Indigenix. There's a spin-off company from UC Berkeley. And Tom Callahan did the one in Boston, the Andy. I wasn't involved in that one. And we put seed money in, and the agency helped us with the rest of it, and we got started and built these programs up. So now that was supposed to be used for booking, but it's being used a lot now. For example, at border crossing, there's a poster at the ISHI meeting yesterday on Ukraine. It's being used in the battlefield. It was used for the victims in Maui. It's used for a lot of things that we didn't think it'd be used for. So that was a surprise. another thing, we had a lecture the first day at ISHI on reparation of the bones to the Indian tribes. I never thought it would be used for, forensics would be used for that. That's very great. A brand new type of, that's a cultural application. That's very good for us. It's not just murder or whatever. We do a lot of things with the human ID, human DNA technology. The other thing is solving cold cases. I never thought of that when I was doing that sort of thing. When we were developing it, it was never even brought up, that we could possibly use forensics, human ID for cold cases. And now it's a big thing, and it's working very well.
You see new cases breaking every day. It's really remarkable. Yeah. Wow. Thank you. That's an incredible summary. When you first began working in forensic DNA, what processes were most cumbersome or complicated? I mean, because things have changed, I think it's interesting to look back.
Differential extractions, they were very difficult and tedious. You had to be really good at the bench, and sometimes even when you were careful, you made a mix in the male fraction, let's say. Now we have, for example, a kit from Genomics Spermex that allows that manual procedure to work very well, and very little manual work to do. It's really set up for that. But we also have the semi-automated methods using QIAcube and so on. So that's eliminated, those problems. DE is eliminated. Another problem was pouring gels. That was so tedious. And I was very good at pouring gels, but sometimes I put a gel on a sequencer and it'd be like green when I looked at it. I have to rip it off, make another gel. And it was a time when you didn't want anyone to use your plates because they were clean. You was clean especially. You hid your plates, and you were very happy when you had that clean gel on the sequencer. Then, of course, I sprayed myself. I was trying to put the acrylamide in the gel, and I sprayed in my face, and I had to go under the sink, wash my eyes. But there was a lot of stress using gels. And then I did silver stain as well as fluorescence, and the silver stain is dirty to work with, and you spill on the floor, the black floor. But I learned to make a very white, clean, no background, and it took a long time to do that. But it was stressful.
I bet. I mean, I think it's thinking about how much time and care, and like you said, could splash up. You have to make sure those plates are clean. Certainly the advances seem to have made it a lot easier.
Yeah. I mean, cleaning a plate and getting ready, that would take an hour of your time, So
that's a lot.
It is,
Yeah, definitely. What of those advances do you think have been the most pivotal for the industry?
Well, automation, for sure. And that's not just instrumentation, there's also software. So I was very good at analyzing profiles. I could sit in front of the screen for 8 hours, not get bored. But when I looked at some of the results my analysts had and when I compared, we had differences. So it depended on your experience and your patience, let's say, and that's no good. So we needed software that would handle that, the analysis of the profile. That was a big pivotal experience, let's say, in forensics to have that software.
Tremendous leaps in automation and computing power and the way things are processed. That's a great answer. We're going to ask it kind of a nearly impossible question, but it's speculative. But where do you think the field is going, having seen the trajectory so far? Like, what is possibly the next 5 or 10 years look like?
To answer that, I'd like to recall a former ISHI Scottsdale meeting with Henry Lee. He gave a lecture after this O.J. Simpson case. And basically, it started off, we messed up. Well, the analysis was done well. The gels were fine. Interpretation was fine. But what happened? Chain of custody. So no matter how well you work in the lab, there could be something else that's going to mess up the case. And what I think, what it's very important is what OSAC is doing, NIST is doing, and the American Academy, getting these standards. If we all follow the standards, then the chance of that happening is much lower. So I think that's a great thing, the standards. The other thing, we've all heard about SNPs. People that are non-forensic, they're looking at SNPs for like diseases, the tendency for alcoholism. We can never go there. So we need to keep the trust, especially when science itself is under scrutiny by the public. So we cannot look at, things that are there to tell you a lot about the person's behavior or future behavior. We just cannot. We have to have guidelines. We have to have rules to not do that, to make sure nobody makes one mistake, and then it's bad for the whole community. So that I think will be one of the things that OSAC will deal with, and I trust them. We have to keep the trust of the community. That's very important.
I agree. Working on the media side too, you absolutely see that. You're right. I mean, if something happens, you can lose that trust even if it's not. It doesn't feel like that's fair. When there's just everybody's learning as we go, but those standards make the difference. Yeah.
And SNPs can tell us so much that we're not using. We need to leverage that information, especially for investigative purposes.
It's incredible. I did my own sequencing and just looking at the various pieces, it's fascinating.
Well, think about a human eyewitness, describing the suspect or possible suspect. If there's some DNA left behind, you might be able to analyze it completely different, a phenotype, than what the person described. That would be very helpful too. So, it all fits together, but again, we have to be very careful what we do.
Absolutely, yes. Do you have any plans for retirement that you'd like to share?
Actually, I'm going to be baking bread.
That sounds wonderful. I
have a few cookbooks on bread baking. I'm going to start that again. And then I'll be traveling in Europe. I've been all over Europe, but there's things I haven't seen yet. I want to live in Italy for a month or so, and stuff like that. In Venice, actually. Just travel, not too far anymore, but travel on the continent.
That sounds wonderful. Travel is a passion of mine. I did a bit of travel writing and made it to 54 countries. I wanted to hit 100. We'll see if that happens or not. But now I think I'd like to go back to some places. Yeah, Venice particularly. What do you love about Venice? It's such a great place.
I've been there 25 times or more. And that's where I can make decisions. And I just like it sounds silly, a city that has all those tourists, but I don't see I see it for what itself, the architecture, the beauty there. It's just the Venetian life and the lagoon and all that. That's what I see, what I like. And somehow I'm able to just shut out the tourism, the tourist places, and doesn't bother me. Somebody says, "Oh, it smells." It never smells to me. I don't smell it.
I heard the same thing, and I disagree. I saw the beauty too, and the Venice Film Festival is amazing, and it's open to everyone. Yeah. Unlike other ones, there's just so much to do. It's just wonderful there.
And they have the Biennale every other year.
The Biennale.
That's fun.
Favorite. I've been to about 5 of them. They're just amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. The artists are incredible.
You see different interpretations from each country that's present there. So many ideas, and wow, how they get that idea? That in itself is not just what the image is, but how do they get the idea? Anyway, yeah, it's fantastic, I think.
Yeah, you couldn't pick a better place than when you say Biennale. It just makes me want to go plan a trip right now. Yeah,
that's coming up.
Fantastic.
This year.
Fantastic. And it's usually by the film festival. It's a great time to go. Yeah.
And as far as Venice, we had a meeting there where I met Bruce and a number of others. They came into Piazza Romana, and then I took them. First, they wanted to eat pizza, so I took them to favorite pizza place. Then we walked to the Guggenheim Museum, and my colleague, Keith Munson, had the first instance of CODIS. And he had it in one of those old-fashioned carry-ons, and it was chained to his wrist. We went to Guggenheim. They wanted him to take that off. No, I can't take it off. So poor Keith was sitting outside, and we forgot him. And then I realized, oh my God, Keith is out there. So we had to run out and get him and leave and go back. And then I took them to their hotels. But, that was another forensic thing. The interesting thing there was we did the STRs and for the international community. That was, not just here in America, but it was where we expanded that.
Yeah, it's incredible. What a story! Like the first CODIS, it chained to him, and he couldn't go in. That's
and he demonstrated it. How the concept and how it worked. It was very heavy, carrying this thing.
Hard to travel with, yeah.
And he was one of the developers. And he was the first guy to work on developing the software.
Amazing to have been part of all of this. Yeah. How about any fond memories of ISHI that you want to share?
Well, there's several. Actually, the best one was the Reba McEntire concert. It was in an evening ISHI in Nashville. That was great. Then the boat ride that we have there, and then I like the. In Phoenix, it wasn't the Western town. It was a Western town, and they made steaks, and they had a country western band. I like that. So maybe, some people say, "Oh, it's kitsch corner," but no, I enjoyed it. So, and I've been everywhere, but still, I got enjoyment out of that. And I like the venues, like the Gaylord. It's beautiful in there. You can walk around the trees and sit down and exchange ideas and stuff. And you're not outside, you're inside and under good weather conditions. And then there was the one, like I mentioned, in San Antonio. You're going to have the next ISHI meeting. Mm-hmm. That's really a beautiful hotel, a great venue.
So excited for the 35th in San Antonio. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. That's one thing. Of course, people come to be together and exchange ideas and talk about the field. But having that Wednesday night event, it's something completely different that nobody expects. It's like a nice release. It's a hard job that everyone is doing. So it's fun to have a little bit of fun in the midst of it.
And there was, like the aircraft factory in Seattle, there's always something of interest, there, because we're scientists, so anyway. But I enjoyed those.
Yeah, the museums are interesting too, to see everybody go. It'll be fun tonight, actually.
Yeah. I haven't been to that museum, although I've been here many times.
Yeah, Denver has usually been an airport stopover, so I'm very excited to see something of it. Yeah. So we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything we missed that you want to share and make sure the ISHI audience knows about?
I don't know. I just would recommend you follow your dream.
That is such beautiful advice, Jim. I don't know if you could say anything better. I feel like you have lived. Do you feel like you've lived your dream? It sounds like
Well,
even.
yeah, from the get-go, I wanted to travel. And so for me, going to Europe, postdoc in Germany, that was great because it was very hard to get a postdoc fellowship there. And at the time, for a chemist, that was one of the best you could get. And so that led to my future career at ABI and then come into the FBI. So I was very lucky. That's it. I'm not that smart, but I'm lucky.
I don't know if I believe that. I feel like it's smart and luck is the smaller part. But
So it is. You just keep working hard. When I was developing the STRs at ABI, I'd go home to eat. I had a couple of kids. I play with them, and then I go back to work in the lab. No pay or anything. I just did it to get them out because we're tired of waiting. So I was trying new experiments and all that stuff. And then like the 310, we were developing that at the same time. And so that was very exciting at the time. But you gotta work hard and follow your dream, I'd say. Don't listen to anybody else, just listen to yourself.
I don't think there's any better advice we could end on. I mean, that's the most inspirational message. Follow your dream, and if you're passionate about it, go for it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were so honored that you took time out from this symposium to come sit down with us. We really appreciate it.
Well, I'm humbled that you asked.
No, we're humbled to have you. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Jim.